Hi friends. If you want to take a look at different priced brushes from Fude Beauty in their cheek category with demos galore, then please keep on watching. Hi, I'm Alicia. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you are returning, well, thank you for visiting me again. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves things, all movement and booty. You want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. Thank you to Fude Beauty once again. A quick background on the matter. Fude Beauty is an online brush retailer that sells brushes from Chikuhodo, Koyudo, and Mizuho, and directly from Japan, so they're able to keep their price a little bit down. The thing is, the shipping can be it's free with the total purchase price of $300. I know. So if you want one brush, it'll be like a $30 shipping fee because again, it's coming all the way from Japan. So I would say if you wanted to purchase from Fude Beauty and you had your eye on a couple of brushes, wait until you order a few so that you don't keep on ordering small purchases over a period of time. You do the one huge purchase, so at least the shipping will be free because international shipping could be very expensive. With that said, I had worked with them on a powder brush video. They were so nice to reach out at the time and say, hey Alicia, we really like your brush review videos. How about we send you a few so you could talk about brushes with your viewers? And I'm like, I'm still grateful for that exchange and for them to be so open in doing it again. I am beyond grateful. So a huge thank you to Fude Beauty. This is not sponsored. I could have easily just went on Instagram and been like, hey, this brush, that brush, this brush. You know I like to get nerdy. So I like to film dedicated videos talking about these brushes, but specifically in this video, we are going into the cheek category of brushes. The last video dealt mostly with powder brushes, but difference is, however, in this video, I wanted to go over a couple of brushes that were inexpensive because in my powder brush video, a lot of them were like 150 and more. And that is simply not in many people's budgets, especially with what's going on now. But I wanted to get the message across that not all Fude Beauty is crazy expensive, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's poorly made. So my contact from Fude Beauty and I went over the different brushes and she sent me a few from like inexpensive to expensive and in between, as well as some synthetic brushes, because synthetic brushes made in Japan are very different from those machine made elsewhere. I'll go over this more when we touch on the actual individual brushes, but yeah, you're getting your money's worth even if it's synthetic, okay? Despite the price tag, if you think it's still too expensive, we'll go over those details momentarily. And a huge thank you for those who used my affiliate link when you did buy some powder brushes for my last video. I cannot thank you guys enough for your support. Even if you just watched the video and you didn't buy a thing, it really means the world to me to carve out some of your time to hear about my brush nerdetry. I am so grateful. Today with cheek brushes, ooh, where should I begin? Well, I'm happy to report that this whole face look and all products will be listed down below with what's on my face as well as what I showcased in the demo. I use all my cheek brushes to apply my not only complexion but as well as my cheek products also. So we have a few here and I wanted to introduce the family. We have 2 synthetic brushes and we have 5 natural hair fiber brushes. So I'm going to pull out my list. We'll go over them one by one as well as the demos using the brushes and you know my thoughts on each of them. And at the end we'll talk about everything. How does that sound? First up, we have the Koyudo Makiko M-2 for $28. The Makiko series is for those seeking makeup brushes that are vegan friendly but have a softness in touch and smoothness in application comparable to fine xoxo goat hair. Handles are made of wood of the Japanese Mizume sakura tree, a material revered for its beautiful grain and durability that has been to make tea canisters for centuries. Now, you probably already saw in some of the demos that I used the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer and the Fenty Teddy Cream bronzer as well as the Tom Ford Stick foundation. Here it is again, close up and personal. You see that it's shorter bristled and you could also see from the before and after wash videos, typically synthetic brushes keep their shape well after washing, and I think that's something people prefer when using a synthetic brush over a natural hair one. What I wanted to highlight with these synthetic brushes versus ones that are machine made, despite the fact that this is $28, and that is still a very good price because I'm going to tell you why. Despite this brush being made with synthetic fibers, it is still handmade. It is not machine made. The synthetic fibers, although synthetic, are still hand bundled. So the methods through which Fude natural hairbrushes are made, those same methods are used to create synthetic brushes. So again, when you're going from machine made to handmade, the price is going to go up. The craftsmanship is there, the specialization, the materials. These are not your typical synthetic fiber materials. They're a lot softer than synthetic brushes you might find elsewhere, and the tips of the fibers are made to mimic that of natural ones. And to get this brush head shape, again, the bristles are hand bundled and not machine cut, and that's what creates the softness of the brush. Now this brush in particular, it is a cheek brush. Not crazy about it for powder foundation, although I liked how my Charlotte Tilbury bronzer looked. I think it's largely due to how beautiful that formula is. This is a smaller brush head and it's a little tighter on the skin, so you see it doesn't have a lot of movement across the skin, so that's why I like it to apply cream bronzer or even a cream blush, because I think it will buff out cream products quite beautifully, and that's why I used it to apply my stick foundation. The shorter bristle length also, I think, just lends a better blending and buffing experience, particularly for cream foundation products. I like the fact that this is multitasking, and I generally think cheek brushes are, frankly, because despite the label cheek brush, the brush head size I think makes it very versatile to use with a lot of your cheek products as well as a few of your complexion products. For this one specifically, for my experience, I rather use it for cream bronzer, cream blush, as well as to blend out some creamier consistency complexion products from my collection. What I'll do is dedicate this portion of the video to all the synthetic brushes, and then we'll go into the natural hair brushes, starting from inexpensive to more expensive. How does that sound? Next up, we have the Chikuhodo AF-3 for $32. The 100% animal-free synthetic fibers of Chikuhodo's AF series recreates the delicate touch of Chikuhodo's highest grade bristles. The AF fibers are designed to have tiny cuticle and crimps to recreate texture and feel of natural hair. They use corn-based material to make it eco-friendly and have silver sewn into the fiber to make it antimicrobial. Chikuhodo developed this range of animal-free synthetic fiber brushes in response to the demand for non-animal hair makeup brushes. That's understandable. Some people, despite what they hear about how beautiful Fude natural hair brushes are, they feel very strongly about using natural hair brushes. So it's really great to see that Chikuhodo is going through the means to present brushes that are still very high quality, even with the synthetic fiber. AF stands for artificial. An AF series brush exclusively uses plant-based synthetic fiber blend that is designed to create soft but firm touch and easy to use quality. I actually really like this for powder, surprisingly. I didn't think I was. You know how I get with synthetic fibers and powder application, okay? The reason why I think this works is because this is a longer fiber, but it still moves really nicely across the skin, and you'll see here in the demo that my blush applied beautifully. It just glides over the skin, and the bristles don't skip over the skin. I feel they still mimic that natural hair feel. It's not the same. It's not the same for sure. Between this and, let's say, the Kazan, which we'll get to, these are totally different experiences. You can even see with the textures how this one looks a little more plastic and this just has more fluff, because this is the Kazan squirrel hairbrush. And just from seeing them flow, you see that there's a lot more flow from the Kazan, and I know I'm holding it in a weird way, but you'll see in the Kazan demo the difference in that glide and movement. But for the AF Chikuhodo brush, this is a good one for powder. I was actually pleasantly surprised. So I much prefer this synthetic brush over the Koyudo one for powder application, whether it's bronzer or blush. I use this also to apply my Fenty cream blush, and because it is a longer bristle brush, I feel you're not going to deposit as much color as you would with a shorter bristle brush, simply because a longer bristle is just going to present a lighter veil of color. So depending on what you want, a shorter bristle will yield more coverage, a longer bristle will be more lightweight airbrush in application. I use the AF-3 to apply my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk foundation. I really like this brush to apply my liquid foundation because it is more airy. It's going to be very fluid on the skin, as opposed to the Koyudo brush, which I feel is better for a creamier texture. So this brush I felt didn't buff out my Tom Ford cream stick as well as the Koyudo. I think simply because shorter bristle closer to your face is going to have a lot more movement on the skin, whereas I think this is a lot more fluid, a lot softer, and just seamless in terms of liquid foundation application, and it is a dream. Oh my gosh, this gets it on so fast. And again, a synthetic fiber is not going to absorb as much product as a natural fiber. So if you like more coverage on the skin, you like for more coverage to be left behind while blending, definitely synthetic over natural. But if you want some of that product to be taken away, you prefer a more natural finish left behind on the skin, then definitely an undyed natural hair brush will give you just that. Those are the two synthetic brushes out of the bunch. I know, only two, Alicia, really? Those are the only two cheek brushes. They have whole collections using these fibers, so I will place those links down below just so you could take a look. You don't have to buy the whole collection, just so you can see the whole range and what Shape has to offer for your makeup application. Now we're going into the natural brushes, and I want to start with the inexpensive ones. Now, inexpensive is relative. I understand that. I feel though, if we could stay away from the 150 range, we're good. You know what I'm saying? Let's start with the Chikuhodo regular C-R2 cheek brush for $47. $47 for a cheek brush is still expensive. However, for Fude, for a handmade, crafted, beautifully designed natural fibers, gray squirrel, okay, that's a good deal. This brush is designed to help you buff any makeup powder with ease and to perfection. Feel the light and comforting touch of bristle made of a high quality gray squirrel. The big round shape of its bristle makes the application of makeup effortless. I applied the Hourglass blush, which is one of my favorites. When I tried that blush, I was just like floored. But I love the size of this brush head. It's round and domed, and I think it's just ideal to buff the product beautifully into the skin. And the fact that it's this shape just makes it ideal not only for cheek blush application, but you could get here with some bronzer as well, and it's on the smaller side. So if you prefer to apply contour, your powder, you can just put it right there. Just put it right there. Pull it along the temple, down the jawline. You can even take the very tip of the brush and place it down the bridges of the nose. I mean, it is an ideal shape. I feel it's just beautifully made. And the fact that it's not 150 and you're still gonna have that Fude experience. Gray squirrel is not a cheap fiber. Okay, it is beautifully soft, and because squirrel doesn't pick up as much as goat, I think ideal for the makeup wearer who likes a lighter makeup application if they feel that their blush and bronzer tend to look muddy every time they layer those products. It's like a disaster. The gray squirrel is just going to be a lighter and airier in application, and the way the bristles just move across the skin. And this is a little dense. It's a little dense for cheek, but it still has beautiful movement. For instance, if I were to quickly compare, this is the Chikuhodo Z8, one of my most favorite brushes. It's a little bigger than the R. This is softer than the R, but I like how this one is just a little tighter pack, because depending on the day, on the mood, you might want a little more structure, right? This is going to be a little more airbrush in application and finish. This is going to put on a little more powder, despite they being still made with squirrel, just to keep in mind. I also really love this blush for applying highlight. I applied the highlight from my Sugu palette, and it's domed, but you see there's like a slight edge here that goes bloop, 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 like very nicely, precisely. Maybe not as precisely as like a dedicated highlight brush. However, if you could just get the highlight right there, and place that part of the brush on the cheekbones, beautiful. It's beautiful. Really like this brush, and I like the tapered handle. It's just a very simple design, but it gets the job done. It's not gonna, you know, dip into your savings, okay? And again, it's gonna give you that Fude experience, just to kind of tiptoe into it. You only need a tiptoe. You don't have to do the full dive, okay? You can stay right here. Next up, we have the Koyudo Yoshiki Y-2 for $40. This one is slightly cheaper than the Chikuhodo, but this one is made with goat hair. The Yoshiki series uses only high quality goat hair, a brush with a round shape that allows you to enjoy high quality goat hair and skin touch 360 degrees. This is a very cool brush. It's unlike anything I have. It's very tight packed, so it doesn't flow like the CR2 like we just saw, but I like the properties of this design for foundation application, for cream bronzer, cream blush application, because sometimes I don't like to swirl, I like to pounce. This is like your pounce buff brush that you go like this as opposed to this. And you can see, I mean, I already used it for foundation, but it's very round and very tightly packed. It's going to get that foundation on if you choose to use the brush for that reason. Again, I know it's a cheek brush, but we gotta multitask, okay? If it's coming all the way from Japan, are you really going to use one of these brushes for one thing? I didn't think so. I use this for my Dior blush application, and although I swirled it on, I just make sure I hold it lightly so it doesn't over manipulate the skin. It keeps it right on the surface. I thought that was a beautiful application. You could also pull down lightly and get a beautiful application from that technique. Apply my salt cream bronzer. So even though this is a natural fiber, undyed natural fibers can be used with creams and liquids. I think, again, very versatile. You could change your makeup mediums. You could wipe in between, as I did between the demos. If I wanted to go from cream, powder, vice versa, do the wipe, dip in, and you're ready to go. I like to pounce my cream bronzer on in this manner. I could also do this, but I feel the strike and pull, can we call it that? I'm gonna stick with that. The strike and pull, I feel an ideal technique when using a brush like this in design, a very short, tightly packed round bristle brush. I really like when I apply my Giorgio Armani with this. So you saw I applied it with the AF from Chikuhodo. I like this for liquid foundation. Also for cream is good too. I think probably I like this with cream better because liquid, this is going to absorb a lot of liquid simply because of the consistency. But even with a stick foundation formula, maybe a cream compact formula, this for any of those textures, please. Cream blush, forget it. This is the Fenty, for instance. Whether it's the Fenty or the Salt, or what else? The Tower 28, the Patrick Ta, you know what I'm saying? Although it'll be interesting, I will have to experiment with the Patrick Ta because he likes to use a sponge for that application, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do a little mixy mix. I mixed together my, that's the wrong brand, Alicia, my Fenty and my Salt. So we got a little bit of pink, we got a little bit of the red from Strawberry Daiquiri. Let's take this Koyudo brush, warm it up in the back of our hand. And again, the strike and pull, I think it's so ideal for this type of brush design. It just gets it on there so fast. Shorter bristled, more tightly packed, and it's soft. It doesn't feel stabby at all. Of course, I'm not going in directly like this. I'm going on its side and pulling down from there. But man, that is just, it's beautiful. Beautiful. I don't have a brush like this. I'm quickly looking. I pulled out some comparisons, you know, because I know you like to see the comparisons. One brush that came to mind is my Sonia G Classic Cheek. Excuse me, Sonia G Classic Cheek. This one has an oval ferrule versus the Koyudo. It has a round ferrule, and because of that, it's pinched. So this is round all over versus the Sonia is more oval. The Sonia has a little more flow because if you see here, the bristles start to cut shorter near here and comes more of a taper tip, versus the Koyudo is a little more round. The bristles don't start as short. This is going to give a little more of an airbrush finish. For instance, if you want less product from what you just saw, if you don't like as much product from this brush, something more airy and finished, this will do. And if you already have the classic cheek, then you're good to go. You know what I'm saying? Just presenting some options for you. Now we're going into the more expensive realm. Just a little bit. If you're like, okay, I'm done, goodbye, Alicia, love you, I'll see you on the next video. If you're looking into the Kazan series, the GSN series, as well as the PO series, look at this little brush. You know what, let's start with this one. This is also a Koyudo brush. It's from their premium PO line. This specifically is the PO-2. It retails for $76. By mixing high quality goat hair with carefully selected gray squirrel. Ooh, I love me a goat hair gray squirrel mix. The best. And adding Koyudo's unique shifting technique, a soft brush with a firmness in the skin is created. Isn't this not the cutest little brush you've ever seen? It's as big as my hand. Like, are you kidding me? And I have small hands. This is a small brush. Ideal for travel, and because of the size, I wanted to use this brush with as many application and products as and products as possible. So I use the Suku loose powder. So if you only have one brush and wanted to use as many products as possible with it, loose powder application, beautiful, seamless, airbrush, lightweight in feel. I use this to apply my Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. Fits beautifully into the hollows of my cheeks. It's not too big, not too small. Just use the side of the brush or even the very tip of the brush. You get the bronzer on there beautifully. My Suku palette, I use it for blush application. It just pounces on the skin just gorgeously, and is, again, it's a little big for cheek, but I think not. I think it's actually perfect. You could pounce, you can strike and pull, you can swirl and twirl. I mean, whatever you want with this brush. You can do whatever you want. Even with highlighter. This is big for a highlight, but again, if you just get it right there, just right there, strike it against the cheekbone, you're done. It is a beautifully designed brush. I mean, loose powder, bronzer, blush, and highlight. All with powder products, of course. Yes, that's where the limitation comes in, because I definitely don't use this with any cream or liquid. You will ruin the fiber. You'll ruin the bristle. However, though, if you want some seamless powder application and there was one brush you will have to decide on. I love the Kazan. I love the GSN too. We'll talk about it. This is a great brush. This is a great little brush. Great for travel, as you see. I mean, the handle, I've never owned a brush like this. It feels like something you get in a kit, you know, one of those brushes that you see them, you could easily do away with because of the size. Not this one. Not this one. Look at the design here. And this comes in a whole set. There's a powder brush, this size handle, that's bigger in the brush head design. It looks so soft. I'm thinking about getting it. Shut up. Anyway, let's go in. Okay. This brush, fam, I mean, I wasn't ready. I own a GSN brush. I own my GSN powder brush, which most of you raved about when you tried it. I always wanted to try one of their cheek brushes, and the GSN 3. This one's expensive. It's $93. Let's look at the specs. Feel the delicate balance of its gentle but firm bristle. Blend squirrel hair and xoxo goat to create the perfect mix for a cheek brush. Again, multi-blend. The multi-blends are just outrageously beautiful because you get the softness from the squirrel, but the pickup with the goat is like the perfect combination, so harmonious and beautiful. The GSN series was created out of the experience collected over the years producing brushes for prestigious cosmetic manufacturers and makeup artists all over the world. The series is a professional use series characterized by the elegant long handle. This brush, the gold ferrule with the white pearled tapered handle. The design in itself is just, it's heavenly. It's heavenly. Like, when I see this, I want to use it. I want to use it with as many products as I can. And it is outrageous. When you see how this brush came in and post-wash, how much it fluffed. Oh my gosh. Out of all the brushes that I use in the demo, this has to be my favorite for bronzer. Well, first of all, loose powder application. I applied my Suku loose powder over my foundation. It has a very pinched ferrule, right? So you see how the brush is cinched. It's like a fluffy paddle design. You could press and roll, you could strike and pull, you could swirl and twirl, however you like. Loose powder, okay, done. It's the bronzer application. You all know Sandra Deluxe, right? If you don't know Sandra Deluxe is one of those beauty creators where you could just see them apply makeup all day. I mean, the effortless, just carefree nature of Sandra's makeup application still pulls at my heartstrings till this day. There are several steps in her makeup routine that are just divine, but one step in particular that I just always get a kick out of is how she applies bronzer. She applies bronzer on the side of the brush and she presses it right into the hollows of the cheekbones, and it always comes out flawless. You can do that with this brush. I picked up the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. I just press it into the hollows right here, and oh my goodness, I mean, foolproof. foolproof. Just for kicks, I applied the bronzer to the tip of the brush, and you could apply it in a more precise manner. But there's something about taking advantage of this brush head design. Taking advantage so you could place the bronzer right there, and it's perfect. It's just, it fits right there. Just, you're done. You're done. I love that. It feels so good, and it feels like I just have bronzer security with this brush. No matter how you do it, you just press it right there. It's just beautiful. And for my filming look, I picked up the 2 shades from the Suku blush palette, and man, oh man, I just pounced it on. This is a pouncer. This is a pouncer for the blush. Now this I found is not as soft as my Z series brushes. Now the Z series is like premium. So if GSN is here, Z is like somewhere up here. You know what I'm saying? The softness is still present, fam. Don't feel like when you get this brush, you're gonna be like, poof, that's rough. No. It is it's really soft. This is softer, most definitely. I mean, this is like silk. It's like silk. Remember, this is a dyed goat and squirrel blend, where the Z series is all squirrel, like a higher grade squirrel. Keep in mind that's going to dictate the texture and the feel, but the size and the design is really what gets me. If you dared, you could very much apply highlighter. I mean, it could be maybe an hourglass type of highlight that's not actual like a highlight, but more like a radiance powder. Ooh, for buffing, forget it. Just easy. You're done. You're done. This right here. And the last, this beautiful. You saw this brush. Well, let me show you. I featured the powder brush in the powder brush video. This is the cheek brush. I actually washed the powder brush. Look how much it fluffed out. Oh my. Every time I use that brush, it's like the first time. I cannot, anyway, shut up. Go to the specs, Alicia. Let's do it. The Chikuhodo KZ-4, $93. It's one of the most expensive ones. Keep in mind, even though the GSN was $93, I don't think, because it's the same high grade fiber, the price is the same, but this is smaller, that one's bigger. You know what I'm saying? Delicate, soft, and slightly wavy Kazan squirrel bristles are excellent for powder application. The high density, high volume ears allow you to evenly spread the powder on the skin and add soft cheeks. Woo, did I use this brush for a lot of tasks. Let's go through them. Buffing the cheek product. When I applied my cheek products on one side, I just buffed it out so it smoothed it out. This brush, I think from all the ones that I have, well, the AF brush is a flat dome, but this is one of the more flat from the natural brushes that I have. It's super round. I mean, the ferrule is round all over, so it's going to dictate that shape. Oh my gosh, beautiful for buffing, beautiful. Loose powder application to set the foundation. I even tapped it around my eyes because I've been doing that since the Suku powder is great, not only for my under eyes, but for all over. I just tapped it around my eyes and got the loose powder on the under eyes as well as on the rest of the face. I used the Mented powder bronzer in Vacay, and again, because of the brush head, it's small, dome shaped, the flat side just gets bronzer right there in the hollows of the cheeks, and once you slide and glide, you can swirl and twirl to buff out the edges, bring it along the temple, down the jawline. I mean, effortless. Suku blush and highlight application. So I mixed the highlight and the powder blush shades from the palette, swirled and twirled it on the cheeks, and look at this. Look at the dancing. Look at the fluffy dancing. This is great for cheeks. Again, yes, it's cheeks, so ideal for blush. But for so many other tasks in your cheek step of your makeup routine, I mean, again, the bronzer, even the contour, dare I say, you wanted the contour, just place it right here and use the edge of the brush to get a more precise application if you wanted that more defined look to your cheeks. I mean, this was quite the journey. Now, I wanted to quickly go over similar shapes. Now, I have to give it up to my Fox series brushes. You know how I feel about them. I made sure I dried my F-04. This is the angled brush. This is one of my most favorite cheek brushes because, oh, this one is more tighter packed and is more plushy, right? So I like the strike and pull method with this. A brush that I would think similar, well, you know what, the Takumi brush. I don't have the Takumi brush. I do have the Dome Takumi brush, which likens to the Kazan brush. So let me set these aside for a moment. This is the T4 from the Takumi series, Chikuhodo. You see that they're both round and they're both dome, they're both flat. This is goat hair, this is squirrel. This is gonna be softer and feel. It's gonna have more of a flow. This is gonna have a little more pushback. It's still very soft, but I love the shape. I love the shape. And the reason why I thought about the Takumi is because this line has an angled brush that very much looks like the F-04, but I think the Takumi might be a little fluffier. I'm not entirely sure. I've had my eye on that brush for a very long time, so eventually I might pull the trigger. You know, we're this close. Again, with undyed goat hair, you could use this with cream products if you wish to. I already showed the classic cheek from Sonia G, but I wanted to, again, put it up against, see here. You know what? Out of the ones that I have, it seems like the Yoshiki brush from Koyudo is the one that's most closely related. Again, this one's more pinched. This is round. The C-R2, you know what this reminded me of, friends? It reminds me of the Surratt cheek brush. So these are very similar. They're both round. They're both domed. The Surratt brush is really expensive. You know this, you know what it is? This feels softer because this doesn't have as many bristles as a Surratt. You know, the Surratt is a little more tighter packed, so you're gonna feel more on your skin. But I think if you had your eye on this brush and you were like, I cannot spend that much on a cheek brush, you might wanna consider this baby. I know it doesn't have like that sleek matte black design. This is a little more traditional in design, but let me tell you, it's gonna give you the results, okay fam? It's gonna give you the results. I gotta say, let me see what this can match up to. You know what I'm feeling like? I'm feeling like, oh, my Z1. Where is my Z1? My Z1 though is a powder brush, so I don't want to compare. There is a powder brush from the GSN line, but I'm feeling like the F-01 is not the same. I understand it's not the same. You're getting a lot more bristle from the F-01. This one is just a little more lightweight. I feel like the F-02 is a smaller version of the F-01, but they remind me of each other because of this, the pinched shape from the ferrule. You know what I'm saying? This is unlike anything I have in my collection. The reason why I brought up Chikuhodo Z9 is because it's paddly in shape and I could get away with that press to hollow cheek application. So I would say it's similar in that way. Here is the Z9 is pinched, unlike the Z1 is a round ferrule. So they kind of remind me of each other, but you see how the GSN rounds out, it blossoms out a little more, whereas the Z9 is a little more narrow. But I like to do the Z9 in the same way, but I don't know, the GSM brush. Ooh, there's something about this GSM brush, man. I forgot about my Sonia G Face Pro. This is more like an actual face brush, which I also love for bronzer. You could also get away with blush. But in terms of the angled shape, specifically for cheek, F-04 for sure, but I need to get that Takumi brush. And quickly to show, this is the GSN 2. This is their powder foundation brush, although they said that you could use it for liquid. Ooh, the pouncetry on this brush, man. This little guy, I mean, in terms of the brush handle, my refer brushes, my travel handle length, perhaps the only thing I can compare it to remotely. You know what? I think it kind of does remind me of my F-02. Now, the F-02 is like a smaller version of this, yeah? Where is my F-02? Let me get my F-02. So this is the F-02. It widens out more so than the PO-2, but you can kind of see they're similar. How about the F-04? F-04 is more angled, but I think is closer in actual brush head size. This is a very special brush. I really love it a lot. Still very soft. There's a little bit of firmness to it, so that it's not super, if you don't like super silky fluffy, if you want a little more texture to your brush but still nice flow, the PO from the Koyudo line is just amazing. With these synthetic brushes, now one of my favorite synthetic brushes, the BK Beauty 208, this is tapered as opposed to the ones from Chikuhodo and Koyudo. These are more dome shaped in size. I have to say though, because Wayne came out with his synthetic brushes, but he didn't come out with a cheek brush. He came out with the fan brush, which is a love for foundation. I haven't used it for a while because I've just been rotating through. Then he has that big powder brush, and I think it's made in the same way these brushes are, hand bundled, not machine cut. But this, I am very impressed with this brush. It's very, very soft for synthetic, very soft. I think it has really nice flow, as well as the Koyudo brush. This is my other synthetic cheek brush that I like to use. This is the BK Beauty 107 brush. The reason why the Chikuhodo feels softer than the BK Beauty, it's simply because when you leave a fiber intact, when you don't machine cut, the ends are not blunt. They come to that fine point, which is going to yield a softer feel on the skin. These are still soft. The BK Beauty is still soft, but the AF brush is softer. I'm very impressed by the synthetic fibers from this line. Don't get me wrong, I still use my BK Beauty brushes for a lot of my complexion routine, whether it's liquid foundation, cream bronzer, cream blush. I actually really love to use this brush specifically for my concealer. It's tapered, so this is an advantage this brush design has over the dome shaped designs. I mean, this is a little tougher to get under the eyes, but the BK Beauty brush though, great for under the eyes. If you want to see more comparisons, I'll be more than happy to hop on a live, get more brushes so we could see them in action. Since I have this camera, I think it's just a little more helpful to see the details, especially when it comes to comparing different brushes. I hope this video helped. If you were in the market for Fude and you just didn't want to drop those hot dollars on a expensive powder brush, but maybe you still wanted to try something from Chikuhodo, I had suggested to Fude Beauty that we feature more of the inexpensive brushes because I think it's only fair, and I wanted to showcase just the superior quality of Fude even in their inexpensive offerings. They're still amazingly made, and I think that's worth knowing. I think that's worth mentioning because yes, they're more expensive powder brushes for sure. If you love to collect Fude, if you just want the creme de la creme, I get it. If you're one, you're like, you know what, I'm all about the makeup, my tools, I don't want to invest so much in. The tools will last longer for the makeup for sure, but if you're just in a place right now that's not what you do. You know, you don't spend that kind of money on brushes, but maybe you still want to experience a brush made in Japan and get that application experience, then these are some of the offerings from Fude Beauty, from namely Chikuhodo and Koyudo. Mizuho has some nice designs too, and maybe down the road I can try some of their brushes. I thought this was a nice overview from synthetic to natural, inexpensive to expensive, if you want to just get, you know, a little taste of each, and comparing to some of my favorite brushes from my collection I thought would be helpful to you if you happen to have the same brushes, or maybe you were wondering about the differences and the similarities. I can't thank Fude Beauty enough just for entrusting me to present their products and just to act as a vessel, I guess, to you in wondering more about these brushes, because sometimes it's more than just visiting a website. I mean, the details are there, the information is there, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to see these brushes in action in as many tasks as possible and to relay my own experience with them, and it has been divine. I love these brushes, and ever since I invested in Fude brushes, my makeup application has just thrived beyond belief. But I also love information and I love product knowledge, and to know the nuanced differences between fibers and what kind of application they yield, and the texture and what products to use with which brush. I mean, I think it all plays a role in us deciding, or maybe you just wanted to hang out with me. You're so nice. Thank you so much. Let me know, friends, if this helped down below, what you're thinking about getting, maybe what you're thinking about not getting. Let me know where your current favorites are. Again, a huge thank you to Fude Beauty for the collaboration. And until then, fam, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you on here again with another review tutorial, Fude brush extravaganza, monthly favorites, or nightly life chit chats. Take care, and I will see you again soon.